Hello, everyone. It's Thor. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Bitcoin chart. So, this is going to be an update. And I feel like this update is going to take precedence over any of the previous predictions because we have more information now about what's going on in the world and what the current price of Bitcoin is at. And right now, Bitcoin's at about 20,000. I know it's not exactly, but it's kind of been hovering around 20,000. And really, it's an interesting environment to be in at the moment. We know that there's record inflation across the world. We know that people have less expendable cash. The central banks are raising their interest rates. So it really is a test to see how can Bitcoin hold up through all of this. Is it really the digital gold? Can we really mark it as a safe asset that we can trust? So that's what we're really going to be looking at today. For those of you that are new to my channel, please like and subscribe and also hit the bell for more videos. I do all sorts of videos, not just on cryptocurrencies, but also the royal family, celebrities, monthly predictions. So my astrology channel, pretty much, we do a broad range of subjects. If you're interested in a private personal reading, check details down below, and that's where you can find out more information on that. And also, I want you to be aware that this isn't meant to replace, you know, advice from a qualified financial planner, and invest at your own risk. I mean, we need to really do our due diligence when we're investing in anything. So I wouldn't just use one vantage point. This is the Vedic astrology end of it and my interpretation, by the way. And check all your tools, use all your tools before you invest your money. All right, so the current situation I did want to talk about. I touched on it briefly in the introduction there, but the inflation rate is pretty intense worldwide, and I think you all agree. US inflation is at 8.2, UK's 8.8, Germany's 10%. And these are the September numbers. So I think they're going to release the new numbers in a few days. So we'll see where the inflation is heading. But the central banks have been aggressively raising their interest rates. And I just read an article today where big tech is apparently starting to institute hiring freezes and layoffs. So there's this idea and there's this brewing, you know, talk of a 2023 recession. At least that's what the popular thinking is at the moment. But we know that can be misleading. We know that sometimes following the masses or following the herd can lead you right off a cliff as well. So, but we need to take that with a grain of salt. But the other thing to consider is that markets really are dependent on people's faith or expectation of them. So the confidence of the consumer. So we also need to take that into consideration. The reason why I like to pull this up before we go into the reading is because I'm not doing astrology in a vacuum. We do have to look at what is going on in the world that could possibly influence the price of Bitcoin at the moment. So we're going to take a look at the chart. I'm going to show you that the bhukti that Bitcoin's in, and then we're going to also talk about the eclipses, because the eclipses are the immediate karmic effect that we're seeing on Bitcoin at the moment. So let's take a look at the chart. Let me pull that up for you. Here's the Bitcoin chart. And at the moment, it's in a Venus bhukti. Remember, in Vedic astrology, we use this system called the dashas, the Vimshottari dasha system. And these are really cool because they predict karmic conditions of your life. So that's why it's a really useful tool. And of course, when we're using it for a cryptocurrency, this is really, we're pushing it. We're really seeing, because Bitcoin was born at a certain time and a day, we're assuming that it has karma just like anything else in this world, right? So when we look at the dashas, it's in Venus bhukti right now, which is the sub period, and it's going to be in Venus bhukti till December 8th, 2023. So let me show you on the slide. Venus is right here, by the way. It's in the 8th house of Aquarius. We're going to break that down in just a second. Let me share the slide with you so you can get an idea of the timing here. So February 6, 2021 is when it entered the Venus period, and it's going to be there till the end of 2023. So it's a pretty long period. You know, it's kind of hard to make a real specific prediction on that date. So we really have to look at the transit, especially the transit of Venus when we're making predictions about Bitcoin. And then we also have to look at what's going on with these eclipses that are happening, because these eclipses are really going to be flavoring the next 3 to 6 months when we're trying to make predictions here. So anyways, what's interesting to note is Venus is in the 8th house of sudden gains and losses. Let's take a look at that. So the 8th house is a volatile house. It's a house where you could make a ton of money, and it's a house where you could lose a lot of money. So for example, Luna was in a period of the 8th lord when it fell flat and went to 0. So that's something to consider. But people can make tremendous gains in a period of the 8th house. So Venus is in the 8th house here, but it rules the 11th house, and the 11th house is associated with economic gains. And the 4th house is like a neutral house, usually has something to do with real estate, property. So it really doesn't relate too much to Bitcoin. So this is more of a neutral house when it comes. But the 11th house is really good. For example, I wanted to bring up during this Venus Bhukti, Bitcoin has had the highest price it's ever had. Remember, right when we were going through all of the things that we were going through in the last couple of years, cryptocurrencies in general hit some of their highest prices ever. And so Bitcoin really benefited from that. And I think when everyone was getting their stimulus checks and everyone was getting all this extra money from the government, it really did prop up the prices of all cryptocurrency assets. But the Venus is volatile for Bitcoin. So I have to throw that in there. It's really volatile. We could see sudden swings here. And let's talk about the Venus transit. So more specifically, okay, so we know Venus is kind of like a mixed bag. We know it's in the 8th house. It rules the 11th house, which is good. But we've seen these sudden rises and drops. So we saw it get really big at the beginning of this Venus period towards 2021. And then we had the big cryptocurrency crash this last summer where things went down pretty quickly. So let's talk about this transit, because this is a really short transit. Venus is going to be transiting Scorpio November 11th through December 5th. And then we'll talk about the eclipses as well. So this Venus transit's actually really positive. So let me clean up this chart. And that's going to be for the next month. So as of I make this video, about the next month, from now to the next month, Venus transiting Venus. Remember, this is natal Venus in the chart. Transiting Venus is going to be in the 5th house. And remember, for Bitcoin, it rules the 11th house and it rules the 4th house. But overall, Venus is a money planet for Bitcoin. Okay. The 5th house is known as a trine house. It's a really fortunate house. It's a really positive house. So during this transit, the next month, I feel that it's going to be really good for the price of Bitcoin. So whatever's going on in the world, at least I feel there's going to be some sort of stability. I mean, unless there's a mega shock, the 8th house can represent a sudden shock. If things are kind of just slowly going at the rate they are right now, I feel like the price might even gain a little bit during this time, because Venus going through the 5th house, it's a Dana yoga. So it's a really positive wealth yoga in Vedic astrology. All right, so let's talk about the eclipses that are happening. Oh, well, the eclipse. I'm going to focus on the lunar eclipse. So on November 8th, which is the day I'm releasing this video, November 8th, it's going to be the eclipse day. The lunar eclipse is going to be happening in the 10th house of Aries for Bitcoin. Okay, so this is where the lunar eclipse is going to be happening. And you'll see there's no planets in there. Generally, if you have no planets in the house that the eclipse is happening, the effects are a little more mild. But let's take this into account when we're trying to make predictions here. The 10th house is not really, it's more of a career house, and it's about public visibility. So a lot of times people kind of mix up the 10th house for more money. It doesn't necessarily mean more money. It just means public visibility. It can mean promotions. So if we were looking at a human chart, we could say this person's probably going to get promoted during this time. This person's going to have more public visibility. They're going to have more respect. So this eclipse is definitely bringing in more visibility. It's bringing in more respect for Bitcoin. That's what I would be seeing. Not necessarily a raise of price, but we know the transiting Venus is going to be going through the 5th house. So that indicates a positive effect on the price of Bitcoin. Let's go back to the chart here. I also want to point out something else. So not only is it in the 10th house, which is good for visibility, it's not, by the way, it's not in one of the negative houses. It's not happening in the 6th house. It's not happening in the 12th house. So the 10th house is a neutral house when it comes to money and finance. But the really good thing is the eclipse is going to be happening second from moon, because we also want to look at, whenever we're looking at anyone's chart, whether it be a cryptocurrency or a corporation or a person, we also want to look at, okay, the moon, using the moon as lagna. So Bitcoin is, it's Cancer ascendant, but its moon sign is Pisces. So second from Pisces, well, that's a money house. So second house is all about increase of asset prices. It's all about gains here. So I actually feel like this is going to be a real good store of wealth. I feel like there's going to be an increase in the price. And maybe people are going to see that things are going to be getting a little bit dicey, but I feel that things are going to be good for the next couple of months. Now, the eclipse is going to be influencing the next 3 to 6 months. But let me put the caveat on that. Remember, on January 17th, okay, we have Saturn is going to be going from Capricorn into Aquarius on January 17th, 2023. I feel like something's about to go down, okay? And I've been saying this in a lot of charts. This seems to indicate, this whole thing with Saturn being in the 8th house. Saturn is the planet of stability. So when Saturn's going in the 8th house, it has a stabilizing influence on a very volatile house. The 8th house is, like I said, it could be sudden events, traumatic events. And so when Saturn's going in there on January 17th, it's having this stabilizing effect. I feel that there's something about to happen soon. It could be some really big economic situation around the world. But Saturn does really good in the 8th house because it stabilizes things. So to me, it shows Bitcoin's going to be a really good store of value, a very good store of wealth during 2023. I think 2023, we're going to see things, and a lot of people have been predicting we could see a possible recession in 2023. But I feel like even if we see some small drops during 2023, I feel like the Bitcoin price is going to be pretty stable, okay, because of that Saturn in the 8th house. It's bringing the stability. It's preventing a lot of the crazy energies that come in with transformative change. So I feel like it's going to stabilize the price of Bitcoin. I feel like Bitcoin is still a really good investment, and I feel like it's not going to disappear anytime soon. So I feel like it is. I feel that I would say it is the digital gold. From my point of view of the astrology chart, it does seem pretty strong. Of course, if we see any crazy events, because Venus is in the 8th house, we could still see some sudden swings and volatility. So I have to put that caveat on everything. Well, thank you guys for watching my Bitcoin video. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. And I hope to see you soon in the next video. So take care.